It's another edition of the Mace on ASO Television. I am Rosemary Ukokotega, and good to have you on this week's program. Today's package in brief: nostalgic session of the House as 9th National Assembly winds down, interview timeout with ranking non-returning lawmaker on 9th House outing, and more. Suspension of purported launch of Nigeria Air by lawmakers. We are live on DSTV channel 392, Star Times TV channel 127, Free TV channel 507 on the UHF band on channel 38. It promises to be revealing if you could stick around. A quick break now and details in a bit.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
You're watching the Mace on ASO Television. Everything that has a beginning has an ending, the saying. So it was an end of a lawmaking era within the week. The 9th House of Representatives, specifically Wednesday, held valedictory session to officially sign out. The session, presided over by outgoing Speaker Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, was characterized by emotions and accolades. Mr. Gbajabiamila, in his last address as Speaker and lawmaker, appreciated colleagues' individual efforts and contributions that resulted in a successful 9th House outing. The now Chief of Staff to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu asked incoming Speaker and members of the 10th House to consolidate gains.
In the years since I first stepped into the hallowed chamber, the House of Representatives has changed profoundly, just as our country has changed as well. Yet in all that time, I have not witnessed change on a scale and with such speed as has been the case in the last 4 years. We have lived through a global pandemic that nobody anywhere saw coming. We have governed at a time of global crisis and relentless transformations to the global economy. We have seen our nation's politics come of age with a new generation of young people determined to have a seat at the table and prepared to fight for it, whatever the cost. Just in the last few days, we have seen the end of a subsidy regime that has distorted the energy market in our country for over 30 years. When change happens at this scale and with such an unrelenting pace, it creates challenges and opportunities almost in equal measure. Over the last 4 years, this House of Representatives has worked to ensure that our country can overcome those challenges and take advantage of the moment to achieve economic, social, and political transformations that benefit all of the Nigerian people. We elevated the debates in the House of Representatives and made this chamber the arena for informed exchange about Nigeria's future and the welfare of our nation's people. We have left our mark in every sector of our national life and positively impacted people's lives across our country. We introduced discipline into the appropriations process by implementing a January to December budget cycle that ended the policy instability and economic uncertainty of the previous irregular budget cycles. We reformed the oversight process to ensure greater collaboration between the arms of government. We made it easier for citizens to access details of budget expenditures so that they too can be part of the process of ensuring accountability in the administration of public funds. We did not yield our constitutional obligation to ensure faithful compliance with the letter and spirit of the Appropriation Act by the ministries, departments, and agencies of government. While the strategic importance of the oil and gas sector to Nigeria's socioeconomic well-being has long been apparent, successive administrations failed to put in place a functional statutory regime to allow that sector to function optimally. We ended that legacy of lethargy with the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act, with the Deep Offshore and Inland Basic Production Sharing Contracts Act. We went even further to put the sector on the right footing. Now, these statutory reforms rightfully ought to have happened a long time ago. Now, we must ensure that the reforms contained in these acts are dutifully implemented as part of a broader energy policy suited to the realities of technological advancements and the evolving demands of the global energy market. We passed the Police Act to change the nature of relations between the police and citizens in our country and to ensure that police reforms or police officers who fall short of their responsibilities can be quickly held accountable. The Act expressly prohibits police officers from arresting citizens for civil wrongs, imposes an obligation on the police to inform citizens of their rights at the point of arrest, and mandates the police to ensure that persons arrested have access to their families and legal representations. In addition, the Act established the Police Complaints Units as a statutory organ accessible to the public to report police misconduct and empowered to initiate action when such reports are received. These reforms did not end police misbehavior in our country. Soon enough, there was a national reckoning. We responded by working with the Nigerian Bar Association to establish a new framework of accountability to hold erring members of the police force to account for their conduct in performance of their duties and compel the Nigerian police to take responsibility for the failures of training and discipline that leads to such wrongful act. And we approved the sum of 500 million naira through the National Human Rights Commission to compensate victims of police brutality nationwide. I sincerely hope that the work of police reform will continue in the House of Representatives until we achieve a system of policing that meets our nation's needs and reflects the best of us. When in March 2020, the COVID-19 virus entered our shores, we became bound with the rest of the world in experiencing a tragic disruption to our economic, political, and social lives, unlike anything we have ever witnessed. This House of Representatives responded by taking active measures to protect the Nigerian people, including those who work here in the National Assembly. We passed the Emergency Economic Stimulus Bill to grant companies a rebate on companies' income tax, suspend import duties on medicines, medical equipment, personnel protective equipment, and other essential medical materials, and deferred mortgage obligations to residential mortgages by contributors to the National Housing Fund. We also passed the Emergency Relief and Assistance Bill to provide a limited salary guarantee for low-income permanent employees of companies registered and operating in Nigeria. Relieve legal consumers of electricity in Nigeria of the burden of electricity charges for a limited period and suspend for a fixed period the implementation of the value-added tax provisions of the Finance Act 2020. Whilst these legislations did not pass in the Senate and never became law, They provided the framework for the federal government's policy response to the pandemic, as the policy ideas contained therein were adopted and variously implemented through executive orders and subsequent legislations. Honorable colleagues, we worked to establish under emergency conditions a fully functioning care facility in the Federal Capital Territory under the management of the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC. We intervened to prevent potentially devastating strike action by doctors and ensure that medical professionals at the fore of our response to the pandemic were remunerated correctly and provided the allowances due to them. We reviewed the statutory framework for managing infectious disease outbreaks and proposed the infectious disease bill to reform an area of our laws that hadn't been examined for a century. In an act of service, for which I remain proud and thankful, members of this House volunteered their salaries to the COVID Relief Fund to support the needs of the most vulnerable in our society. The legislative legacy of the 9th House of Representatives includes the Companies and Allied Matters Act and the Nigerian Startup Act, two critical legislations aimed at changing the way we do business in Nigeria by streamlining regulations, reducing red tape, and setting the conditions for the private sector to innovate, thrive, and grow. Our legacy also includes the comprehensive electoral reforms in the Electoral Act that have changed forever, for good, the way we conduct elections in Nigeria. While we recognize the need to continue to work to improve election management in Nigeria, we must acknowledge the vast improvements that have happened since the return of democracy. And we take pride in our contribution to those improvements over the last 4 years. Through the constitutional review process, the House of Representatives sought to restructure our government to make it more effective, reorganize and our politics to make it more inclusive, and enshrine efficient mechanisms for holding the institutions of state to account and put an end to the debilitating conflicts that even now continue to tear our nation apart. For this, I want to particularly thank the Deputy Speaker of the House for spearheading and chairing the Committee on Constitutional Review. We made an audacious attempt to create a constitution that addresses once and for all the fundamental issues that distract from nation building. The constitutional amendments we enacted devolve power and responsibilities over critical areas of our national life in an effort to spur innovation and healthy competition at subnational level. By our joint effort, we achieved financial independence for state houses of assembly and state judiciary, granting greater autonomy to these arms of government in line with democratic best practice. To succeed in our shared ambition of building a prosperous and peaceful country, we must do everything within our power to ensure that our daughters and those yet to be born can grow up in a more open, more equal society than their mothers did. Unfortunately, we did not succeed in removing some of the constitutional barriers that have long stood in the way of women's full and unhindered participation in the politics, governance, and economy of our nation. This issue must continue to be at the fore of our national conversations. I hope the 10th Assembly will take up the mantle and do better than we did. Beyond legislative interventions, the 9th House of Representatives will be remembered for our efforts to change how we do the business of Parliament, most notably for introducing information technology tools through the e-Parliament project and establish the National Assembly Library Trust Fund. This 9th House, with unwavering courage and determination, defended the rights and dignity of the Nigerian people abroad from every attempt to dehumanize and victimize our people. Our interventions on behalf of Nigerians in China during the pandemic put an end to the recurrent incidents of abuse, just as our efforts on behalf of the Nigerians in South Africa and Ghana caused the governments of those nations to step up action to protect the lives and property of our citizens in those countries. For everything, there's a time and a season, and we are obliged and obligated each season to do the most and the best we can in the time we have. This is a good rule for politics and for life itself. The 9th House of Representatives is ending, and the 10th will shortly be convened. All of us, those whose time in office is ending, and those for whom duty continues, will face the judgment of history. I urge you to keep this in mind and let your actions be guided by the desire to ensure that you are not found wanting by man or God in the final judgment. As a member and speaker of this honorable house, I have traveled the length of this country, and I have been amazed by the talent and capacity, dogged determination and resilience of the Nigerian people. The abundance of these qualities among our people assures me that if government lives up to its responsibilities, our people are ready to do the rest. So we must live up to our responsibilities. There is no other option. I urge you to please take pride in performing those roles credibly at all times. Reach for excellence in all you do and resist the cynicism and pessimism that encourages laziness and ineptitude. Nigeria is an unfinished story, a long tale of promise and peril, and our final chapters have not been written yet. Some persist in believing that this grand nation is a victim of history, that our destiny has already long been written, and that we cannot escape from it. I do not subscribe to this view. In fact, I reject it entirely. Indeed, the world today is being remade by profound and powerful forces, and it may seem our destiny no longer lies within our control. But we are a proud and resilient people with a limitless capacity for excellence. All that we hope to be, we can. All that we desire is within reach. Our greatest successes as a nation will come when we work together across party lines, without considering differences of tribe and tongue, religion and creed, towards the shared goals of our nationhood: peace and prosperity, equity and justice for all. As we bring this 9th House of Representatives to a close, I am proud to say that by our joint effort in nation building, we have ensured that the cause of Nigeria will long endure, and the dreams of our nation's founding fathers will not die. Came to this honorable house 20 years ago, filled with hope for our nation's future. I leave this office today with hope unbroken, and my enthusiasm to serve remains undiminished. I am more confident that our best days are ahead, and that we can build a future where our nation is a beacon of excellence, a refuge and a place for pride for all who salute our flag and swear allegiance to our Constitution. This is a future worth fighting for. This is the future I will never stop fighting for. I thank you. Goodbye. God bless you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All principal officers, Deputy Speaker Mr. Idris Wase, Majority Leader Mr. Alhassan Dodogwa, Minority Leader of the House Mr. Ndidi Lumelu, Deputy Minority Leader Mr. Tobi Okechukwu, Chief Whip Mohammed Mongunu, and Deputy Chief Whip Ms. Nkiru Kaonye-Jocha are among lawmakers who spoke on the 9th House vis-a-vis successful leadership of the Speaker.
To appeal to them to please forgive me, because I know my own kinds of style of leadership. I don't believe in applying the rules. Not many people will be happy in terms of applying the rules. Many people may not be happy, or some people may not be happy, and it's not easy. As managers and as we are managing ourselves, I want to beg for that forgiveness. I didn't do that because I want to belittle, but to make things equal and to apply, say, one rule for every person, devoid of our religious divide, devoid of our own ethnicity or whatever cultural divide we have. I want to appreciate that you have made me proud. You have made Nigerians to believe on somebody like me, to believe that there are some small person coming from a very small community called Bashar in Wasalaku government, that today you have given me your latitude and the opportunity to showcase the little talent God has given me. Thank you very much, and I want to appreciate. Through the instrumentation of these colleagues, we have done 2 bills or 3 that I'm proud that are sponsored. You gave me the cooperation. We have the National Orthopedic Hospital today in Jos. We have the National Orthopedic Hospital in Jalingo, and we have the National Orthopedic Hospital in Edo State. These are very, very critical efforts that have been done to change the narration of what is happening in the healthcare system. We have done this, and I want to believe that God Almighty would want all of us as we have achieved those things.
Let me use the normal order to say that I rise here as Honorable Ado Dogwa, Mr. Speaker, representing Dogwa Tudunwada Federal Constituency in this great session of the 9th House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I am of the APC extraction today and indeed tomorrow. Mr. Speaker, my respected colleagues, as others might have said, today is a day for sober and moral reflections.
Honorable Alabi, please take your seat. Honorable colleagues, the leader has the floor. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I want to say that it's not only for sober or moral reflections, it is for me a day of accomplishment. A day of accomplishment for each and every one of us here individually and collectively. We are today here making a milestone of this very great institution. Mr. Speaker, we are today here making another great history of winding down the session and the business of this institution in the name of the 9th House of Representatives. And on this note, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, permit me to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has spared our lives, our well-being to witness this great day. Mr. Speaker, I would like to also join suit with other members of the House who took their time to say thank you, thank you, thank you, my constituents. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I would like to say that we are all here as accomplished members. We are not only accomplished, we are going back home as fulfilled members of this great institution. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter whether you have made it back to the 10th Assembly. For me, whether you made it back to the 10th Assembly or you have not made it back to the 10th Assembly, the fact remains that we are today here as winners. We are winners because for those who are coming to continue from where we are stopping today, they are winning. And for those of us who are going out there to continue the nation building in different capacities, they are also winners. Mr. Speaker, I want to finally say that on this final note, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I thank each and every one of us for the contribution you have given to the service of this institution, especially for the legislative achievement that we have made remarkably.
Everything that I've achieved, I give thanks to God. But most importantly, I want to thank the minority caucus and the whole entire House, the leadership of this House, ranging from you, the Deputy Speaker, and everybody, for giving me the opportunity to stand here as the minority leader. I don't take it for granted. All I can say is that there is a future, and God has provided future for us. It is only those who don't believe in God that should be afraid of their future. But when you believe in God and trust in Him, in truth and in spirit, He will always provide for you. Mr. Speaker, I will not sit down without congratulating you. Let me thank you, wish you well. You will do well as the Chief of Staff, and Nigeria will be better for it. And I believe that Nigeria, even our colleagues, also will be better for it. Once again, I love you. I love my colleagues. I love, of course, the clerk, the members of the clerk's team, but most importantly, the press that are giving us the opportunity for Nigerians to hear us and know what we're doing. I love them. May God bless us, and may God bless the House, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minority Leader.
In 1992, I came here as a very young, active man, and living in this house with a gray hair and transiting to the Senate. I want to seize this opportunity to thank members of my constituency for reposing their confidence in me to represent them in these hallowed chambers for 5 terms. I sincerely thank them. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, to the generality of members here, one of the most difficult jobs to perform in this chamber is that of the chief whip. I am vested with the authority of calling my colleagues to order in the exercise of that function.
if I might have done anything wrong to any member, please, I seek your forgiveness. I did so in the exercise of the functions of my office.
To promote women inclusion in the National Assembly, I sponsored a bill on special seats for women in the legislature. With the support of many of my colleagues, both male and female, we made history as it was the first time such an ambitious bill was presented before the National Assembly. I consider our attempt a bold but timely move.
Honorable Gaza.
Considering the social, cultural obstacles women face in attempting to occupy leadership positions in our society. As lawmakers, we were faced with the challenge of the legislative process, which entailed navigating complex political landscapes, cultural beliefs, differing viewpoints, and the need for compromise. While we may not have achieved the desired outcome of passing that piece of legislation, it does not diminish the importance of the issue it sought to address. The issue of women political exclusion, neither did it belittle our efforts and the impact we made along the way. We know significant improvement in the number of women who won legislative seats after the 2023 elections. This issue remains critical for Nigeria, both at home and internationally. I make bold to say that several countries are looking up to us to take the lead on this matter, and not to lead from behind. I sincerely hope that the incoming 10th House puts this on the front burner with the support of our amiable Chief of Staff that may bring it from the executive arm. We must remember that progress is not always linear, and the path to meaningful legislative change can be challenging. However, our efforts contributed to raising awareness, stimulating public discourse, and laying the groundwork for future discussions on this pressing matter. While we may not have reached a consensus on this important piece of legislation, and indeed some other important bills, the process itself has been invaluable in fostering dialogue, deepening our understanding, and shaping our future actions. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to my colleagues, especially the Speaker who stood alongside me in advocating for the Special Seats Bill and other key bills of national importance. Your dedication, passion, and commitment to improving the lives of our constituents have been commendable. Our collective efforts serving as a reminder that despite our differences, we share a common goal of working towards a better future.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I've been here for 12 years and I'm immensely grateful for the kindness and warmth I have felt across all the members, and particularly you, Mr. Speaker, and the principal officers. I have crisscrossed various disciplines. None of these my travels could give me the opportunity to learn what I have learned in the House of Representatives. I've had the opportunity to succeed in a number of things. In areas where I failed, I hold myself responsible. In areas where I overcame, I give that is due to the kindness of my colleagues. As the session closes, Mr. Speaker, I say farewell to my colleagues for us to meet again. Thank you, my colleagues, our former principal officers, the members of Parliament. I wish you all well. May God bless all of us. Thank you very much.
Most of us came from our
various constituencies with different upbringing that many people never knew would be in this hallowed chamber today. 2019 came, we have seen, we have discharged our duties. Today, we are exiting this 9th Assembly as great men with our heads high, with leadership from you, Right Honorable Speaker, because no one knows tomorrow. Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, we did what we could do. Nigerians saw, Nigerians applauded at some point. With some issues, even we were castigated at some times, but then we are able to stand tall today to gladly say that you have led us well in the 9th Assembly. We want to say thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Today you will be exiting to be the Chief of Staff. Tomorrow we don't know what you will be. No one knows tomorrow. Many of us are here. We don't know where. Inasmuch as we have much and quite a number that will not come back in the 10th Assembly. But God knows the destiny of each and every one of our colleagues that will not be coming back in the 10th Assembly, because no one knows tomorrow. We want to wish each and every one of us well, and by the grace of God, tomorrow will show who we are, and by the grace of God, we will all succeed. I want to wish you well. I want to wish all our colleagues well. I want to thank you for making us to be men of which we are in this 10th Assembly, because only God knows tomorrow. Thank you.
As the first woman to represent that constituency and to represent Gombe North, I say Alhamdulillah. Mr. Speaker, to be blessed is to be able to use the blessings to bless others. Mr. Speaker, I say Alhamdulillah, because you have used your blessings to bless me. To do what? To improve the Kuna for the federal constituency. I have changed the perspectives of politics in Dukuna.
Silence, please, silence, please. Listen to her in silence.
This is the first time that a Fulani woman, a Muslim, has been able to come out from that aspect, from that area, to represent the people. I've been able to empower, enhance, and enlighten the people. And I've also been able to bring out the women to vote, which hitherto they were not even coming out to vote. Mr. Speaker, as a legislator, I would say I'm very proud. I have been able to participate in bills that have gone to Mr. President for assent, which have been assented to, and today they are laws. Mr. Speaker, Alhamdulillah, for members of my committee, I want to thank the members of the Electoral Committee for their support in seeing through to the amendment of the Electoral Act. And I also want to thank our chairman, Mr. Professor Ihomvere, for the Al-Majri bill. We are very proud and happy to say that we are part of this great change. Mr. Speaker, one thing I have personally achieved is that I'm a better Nigerian. I've been able to travel all the states of the Federation for oversight functions, and I've seen a lot. So I'm a better Nigerian. My only setback is that all our female bills, all our gender bills, Mr. Speaker, have not been able to pass through. Mr. Speaker, you did your best. You made all the female members of the Constitutional Review Committee, but we were not able to achieve that. Mr. Speaker, it is time to ask for forgiveness To err is human, but to forgive is divine. So we should forgive each other. Finally, I want to call on all Nigerians to believe in the Asiwaju Kashim Shettima team so that we can make Nigeria a better place. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I thank all my colleagues, members of the 9th House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly thankful to you for providing leadership together with the body of principal officers of the 9th House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, we have seen everything but not all. We have done our best, but we leave the rest to God. What I want to say fundamentally is a message of forgiveness. The last speaker has spoken about most of our colleagues that would have been with us here, Mr. Speaker, but God in his infinite mercy decided to take them away. We all pray for Jannah to be their final abode. Mr. Speaker, I want to, on your behalf and on behalf of the body of principal officers and all of us here in the 9th House of Representatives, to plead with us to forgive one another. In one way or the other, in the course of discharge of our own obligation and responsibility, we must have bite our tongues. We must have offended one another.
Silence, please.
That anybody that we must have wronged,
Order, please.
find a place in his heart to forgive us. Mr. Speaker, God has given us the enablement to interact with one another. Tomorrow we are going to meet elsewhere. As you have said in your speech, we remain friends and we will meet in the wider future. My only prayers for you is for you to succeed in your new endeavor, and God bless you. I wish you well and I wish you the best, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business, Mr. Abubakar Fulata, outlined the bills and motions processed by the 9th Assembly in the last 4 years. His breakdown credited the 9th House with the passage of 2,017 bills and 2,000 motions. The session was attended by former speakers Mr. Umar Naaba and Ms. Patricia Ete, Colonel Tunde Akogu, who was leader of the House, Mulikat Akonde, another former House leader, and some former clerks to the House. As the lawmakers were busy with the ceremony at the chamber, staff of the National Assembly were sighted moving and replacing office items, all in preparation for the takeoff of the 10th House next week. Now to the Red Chamber. Well, similar session at the Senate will now have to hold this Saturday after President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, informed colleagues of a meeting of lawmakers for the incoming 10th Assembly with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on the earlier scheduled day, Thursday.
Our military session will be on Saturday, where we will have a full day by the grace of God. And if you wonder why we are pushing to Saturday so that I clear the air, it's because tomorrow, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, will be meeting with the senators-elect and members-elect at 2 p.m. And we believe that a session as significant and as important and as historical and memorable as validity session of the Senate requires a whole day, not 1, 2, 3 hours. Therefore, we push it to Saturday, where we expect to have full disclosure from each other and how our last 4 years have been.
All eyes are now gazed towards the brand new National Assembly come June 13, the 10th National Assembly. I welcome you now to the interview segment. Here we have a ranking lawmaker in the just concluded 9th House of Representatives, Honorable SERGIUS OGUN. The member who represented Ishan Northeast, Ishan Southeast Federal Constituency of Edo State spoke to the Mace on his and general outing in the 9th House of Representatives, what and what not to miss, and life ahead after the legislature. Hon Ogun to the mic.
Thank you. Well, the Net Assembly it's been okay. We passed some major bills, which I think will need to be revisited by maybe the 10th Assembly, the Petroleum Industry Act. Now that it's been executed, there are so many gaps, so I'm sure there will be amendments. And then same thing with the Electoral Act. After the 2023 elections, now we have also discovered there's a whole lot that needs to be done to it. So those were the major bills, so the major acts that came out of the Net Assembly that ordinarily one would have been very proud of, you know. And then the other talking point really is the January to December budget cycle, which really there's nothing to talk about it really. I mean, it's something that we tout as one of our achievements. But as you might be aware, we have just extended the 2022 budget to June. And annually, we hurry to pass the budgets to meet the January-December. The budget are sent, I think, in January. But most times, we are still running the previous year budgets, and we keep on amending so that we can extend. So what's the difference between the 8th Assembly and the 9th Assembly in the budget approval? No difference. Because then, we're passing the budget around maybe April, May, and I say it wasn't good enough. But even with this so-called January to December, we are still extending the previous year budget to June. So what have we achieved? One step forward and 3 back. So the major highlights for me will be those two bills, those two acts, the Electoral Act and the Petroleum Industry Act. Well, I will be 60 on Wednesday. I think I'm too old to be in this place. That's one. And 2, we do zoning in my place. Though my colleagues that we came here together in 2015 contested, but I just felt it's a gentleman agreement. If we fought against people continuing, so why should I, after 2 terms, begin to fight to remain? So I felt it should go to the next local government. And before you know, it's going to be 8 years, and then we'll come back to my local government. Whoever is interested should go. And more so, I believe this institution is one that requires experience. So we fought against it in ignorance. For the person succeeding me now, if he wants to continue after 2 terms, I will support him to continue, knowing what I know now. But for me, I think I have done my bit, so I can move on to other things. I have a business to run, and there are higher things to pursue in my state. There's a governorship election next year, 2024. Who knows? One might be interested. I don't know whether I will miss National Assembly at all. You see, because I came from the private sector, where, and also the industry where I served, in the oil and gas industry, not downstream, upstream. So things are regimented. If you say, okay, we have a meeting by 9, before 9 people are in the hall chatting. Then you come into the hall, there is safety briefing, if there's fire here, this is how to exit and all that. My 8 years in National Assembly, nobody has ever said anything about in that our chamber. If there's a fire, this is how to escape, or this is a firewood here, nothing. So those were the things I struggled with initially, and I still struggle with them now. When somebody says we are going to meet at such and such a time, and you go there, there's nobody, you have to add 2 hours to it. Or somebody, while you are there waiting for the meeting to start, you get a message that it's been cancelled, it's been moved. It's not my style. So I wonder if I'm going to miss anything. Okay, the inauguration proper, elections, with what is going on now, what am I possibly going to miss there? Because I had said we should be talking about voting for people with track records. But now the horse trading is basically just money. Everybody is talking about, okay, this person is going to give us this money. Everybody, okay, this one is going to give us this money. Okay, maybe they're going to zone it to this area. Who is talking about the character of the individuals? We are praying for a righteous president. But if you don't have a righteous National Assembly, we're not going to. It's like having two pilots flying a plane. One is taking off, the other one is applying brakes. That plane will never leave the ground. So for me, the inauguration day would have been something to look up to with excitement. But the way the two I experienced it happened were not things I think I'm going to miss. So I don't think I'm going to miss the National Assembly as such. I like it, an organized life, and there's no whole lot of organizing here. No. Okay, I was just going to add again, beside the fact that yes, I don't think I will miss the National Assembly, but I will miss a whole lot of my colleagues here. People have bonded with over time, and in our forum, I make a lot of noise. I was with one of my colleagues one day, I think we were somewhere, and he said, 1/3 of the posting in that platform is from me. So why am I always harassing everybody? And I said, yeah, maybe because I feel like harassing you guys. So I'm going to miss them greatly, yeah. Well, the people contesting now are my colleagues, and every one of them is qualified to be the next speaker. But what I will urge because you have a greater percentage of new people coming in, if I was to advise them, my advice would be that they should check the character of the individuals, check their track records. They've been here, what have they achieved, who are they? Don't just go for pecuniary, matters, because now you're looking at somebody, I'll vote for this person, will make me committee chairman and all that. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. I was never a committee chairman. Yeah, I did act as a committee chairman, act, not substantive, for about a year, and I did not miss that position at all, because my chairman was removed by the Supreme Court, So it's not something that I believe people should break their head for. Stand for what do you believe in. In the Night Assembly, my party told us this is how you are going to vote. Even when we knew that it was not going to work out that way, the party brought us here. We stood by the party, So, but I see a lot of these people coming now, they're not even thinking about party. They're thinking about themselves. How do I get, not just committee, juicy committee. And that's what we have reduced ourselves to in this country. And I dare say I don't blame them, because they just came from an expensive election, and then the constituents are waiting for them. They expect them to build roads, to do flyover, do everything. And that's not the work of a legislator. So for some of us going out now, that we'll start advocating for that. You send a legislator here to have time. Now we just came from a committee meeting. I'm not happy that I'm getting these documents today, but I'm going to take them home and read them. So by the time these stakeholders come on Wednesday, I'll be firing on all cylinders. That should be the work of a legislator. Not take this, drop it, and be running around agencies looking for contract or looking for money and all that. You will not get the best of the legislator that way. And that's not the work of a legislator anyway, to do contract. Yeah, we don't do contract, but we want to put as many projects in your constituency to show that you are working. That's not the work of a legislator. So if only we can just retool this whole thing and allow a legislator to come here, move very sensitive motions, and then bills that will change the socio-economic of this country, not all that we are doing right now. Yeah, I can't be okay with it. But there's too much money in politics. And how many women can afford that kind of money? And then, you see, we just came out from the general election. The template used by INEC to conduct this election, till they come out, go for a retreat and tell us we notice obvious lacuna in the way we handle this election, and we are going to correct it. It will be very foolish for anybody to go into an election again using the same template. So, elections are too expensive, the violence involved. I do not think I will allow my wife or my daughter to go into politics in this country. So we need to look into that. Yeah, because you see, people, you have companies. While I was in the private sector, my HR manager was a lady. My finance, director, my general manager finance was a lady. And with those two ladies, I can leave a whole bundle of check down, sign it down, then travel anywhere, knowing that they will do the right thing. People come to me to say they want me to open an account with them, bankers and all that. They must pass through those two ladies. If you pass through those two ladies and come to me, I know you are clean. You know? So how can we trust women with our individual lives, personal things, and then we can't trust them with governance? So I'm not surprised that we are where we are today in this country because we have not allowed women in. I mean, this is not because I'm talking to women here, you know, but the climate is not suitable right now for women. And we must begin to address those things. There's too much money in politics in this country today. You have said for a woman to contest, the form will be free. But that's just one infinitesimally, you know, little part of it. The form. She's going to go out there and campaign. Spend money to move from ward to ward, unit to unit, local government to local government. Then after this, on election day, then somebody will mobilize thugs to go beat up people and all that. Nobody will want even your relative to get involved in such a thing. So the earlier we address those things and allow women to come in, the better for all of us.
Honorable SERGIUS OGUN served in a lot of strategic committees, sponsored a good number of bills, and moved far-reaching motions on issues of national interest. The astute lawmaker will be sorely missed in the 10th House of Representatives. We wish him well in life after the Assembly. As a way of rounding off the program tonight, we quickly bring to your notice last-minute resolution of the House in suspending further action on all activities relating to the national carrier Nigeria Air unveiled by the immediate past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. The suspension handed down by the Chairman, House Committee on Aviation, Mr. Nnolim Nnaji, is effective until a comprehensive probe is carried out on the entire transaction by the new administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The committee, during an investigation into the purported recently launched Nigeria Air, urged the federal government to prosecute immediate past aviation minister Senator Hadi Sirika and others involved in the economic sabotage of the project. Now, all transactions pertaining the launching, according to the committee, failed to follow due process as the aircraft used to unveil the national carrier was leased for a period of 48 hours. And it's a wrap on the Mace this week. Many thanks for watching. Let's see you again next week when the 10th Assembly would have been inaugurated. Until then, be good. I am Rosemary Kokotega.